Hey guys, welcome or welcome back, depending on whether or not you've been here before. So just before I get into it, I just want to remind you that this episode of the podcast is the last for the current season, okay? I'm taking a break for the months of June, July and August, and I will be back in September of 2024 when the evenings are getting cooler and darker all over again. Okay, but before I go, I want to talk to you a little bit about how your personality can affect your spirit connection. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Life After Life with me, Sandie Byrne. So as I said, in this episode, I want to talk to you a little bit about how your personality and how you communicate in life will affect how you communicate with spirit. Okay? Now, if you're someone who's had a reading with me in the past, or if you've been following me for a while, you may have heard me talk a little bit about this already, okay? Probably a bit more concerning the personality of your loved one in spirit more than your own personality. But the point is still relevant, so I am going to repeat it here in this episode, okay? So when you're booking an appointment with a medium, you need to first consider who you are looking to connect with in the spirit world, okay? Because how they communicated in life will be how they communicate in death. So you need to be very mindful of it, okay? And what I mean by this is, if you have a loved one in spirit who was very, very shy in life, okay, then you know that, when they were alive, they weren't the type of person who would speak to or who would open up to strangers, okay? Because, if they were like that in life, then they're surely the same person in death because their personality doesn't change. They will always come through in a way that you can recognize them, okay? So in this instant, this example that I'm using, okay, if they didn't talk to strangers in life and you know that your medium is a stranger to them, then you can't expect them to suddenly start talking to strangers and them to tell your medium everything about themselves or everything about you, okay? So, to connect with them, rather than going to a medium who can hear them, you'd be better off to go to a medium who can see them or who can feel their energy. Okay, because they're shy. They're not going to tell all the family secrets and, talk to me about things that have been going on in the family. Like if they didn't talk to strangers about that in life, they're not going to start talking to strangers about that in death, okay? And, I've said this before, it's kind of a catch-22 situation for the medium, because if they don't get that information from your loved one in spirit, then you say they're a useless medium, okay? And if they do get that information from your loved one in spirit, then, you're going to say, well, that, my mum would not have come through and told you that information if she was alive, okay? So it's kind of a catch-22 for us, whether we get it or not. So I do say to people, think about who it is that you want to connect with, okay? Give yourself the best chance of getting the most accurate evidence, okay? And I've talked a little bit in the past about my Auntie Mary, okay? I was very close with her. She was only 61 when she passed. And, as she got towards the end of her life, she hated having her photograph taken, okay? Don't we all? Okay, get into your 50s, put on a few pounds, get a few wrinkles. And she hated being caught on video camera, okay? Video camera, anything at all. She just hated it. So I know that for me, if I wanted to go to a medium to connect with her, for me going to a medium who could see her would be a waste of time, because she's unlikely to show herself as she looked before she passed, okay? She didn't like her, how her appearance to show us in a photograph. She's not going to show the medium, how she looked. That's just who she was. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just her personality. But I know Mary, and I know that she could talk for Ireland, okay? She talked to anybody. But she was Irish, but she lived in London. And for 25 years, she drove a double-decker bus from Potter's Bar to Oxford Street in London, okay? 25 years she drove this bus. She had no problem opening up to people and telling them what was going on in her life, chatting to them about what was going on in theirs. So I know that me going to a medium who can hear her would be the best bet in order for me to get an accurate reading from her. Okay? Now, how you choose the medium is by looking at their website to see if they say that they're clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient or whatever, okay? Now, I've explained all of these terms way back in episode 2 of the podcast, okay? But I'll link it here in the show notes on this episode so you can find it again if you want to remind yourself, or if you're looking for a medium. You know, it just tells you the different ways how mediums do connect to spirit and how you can choose them. So, you know, clairvoyant is a medium who sees spirit, clairaudient is a medium who hears spirit, and so on, okay? So if you want to find those out, go back to episode 2, okay? I mean, doing this kind of research really is the best way to increase your chances of making contact with your loved one, okay? Meaningful contact. Now, when it comes to you connecting with spirit yourself, okay, whether it's for yourself, spirit connection, or if you're intending on acting as a medium for somebody else, how you interact with people in life, you know, that will also dictate how you connect to spirit. So the easiest way for me to explain this to you is to discuss how useless I am with people's names. I just am. That's just me. Okay, always have been. All my life. I could meet you on the street and I would know exactly who you are. I'd be able to tell you when you had your confirmation, okay, where you work, but I will not know your name. I just have this block with regards to people's names. Okay, I've always had this block. And because I don't use names in conversation, for that very reason, I rarely get names from spirit. Okay, now don't note that I don't say never, okay, because sometimes I do. Sometimes spirit will introduce themselves, or sometimes they will give me names of someone here that they want to mention. But other times I will meet spirits that are like me, okay, and they never use names in conversation, so they don't give me their name. Okay, it's a case of pot, meat, kettle, you know, the two of us are the very same. Okay, so in this example, okay, you can see how my own personality affects my ability to get names during readings. Okay, and I do have a tendency to stay away from this whole thing of saying that, you know, is it a C or is it an S or whatever, okay, because that really doesn't tell us anything in my opinion, okay, just my opinion. But, you know, unless they were actually called C or S in life, then it really is meaningless, okay. Now, there are many other ways in which your personality or your mannerisms can be reflected in your mediumship, okay? So for me, another way that spirit can be reflected is through my hand gestures, okay? I'm the kind of person who talks with her hands, okay? Now, I know that you can't always see it because I'm mostly on video these days, but I do move my hands around when I'm talking. And this comes out in my readings sometimes, okay? Especially where your loved one was also the type of person who talked with their hands. You know, so sometimes when I'm reading, you know, if you've seen me read before, I tend to scribble a lot or draw a lot, stick people while I'm reading, okay? And sometimes during a reading, I pick up my pen with my left hand, even though I'm right-handed, okay? Because someone that I'm reading for, their loved one may have been left-handed. You know, and I've often in a reading gone to put a cigarette into my mouth, okay? Even though I don't smoke, I've never smoked myself, okay? I also don't drink alcohol, okay? But I've often during the reading felt the longing for a pint or a whiskey or maybe even a cup of coffee, you know, all things that I don't drink, okay? I might feel that in a reading because that might have been something that your loved one would have liked in their life, okay? So all these things will come out. Okay, I do remember one instance where I spent the whole reading sitting with my hands steepled in front of me, you know, like where you've got the tips of your fingers together in like a triangular sign. And I spent the whole reading like this, tapping them together. And then it just dawned on me, like, what am I doing? I never do this. And the person was just sitting there looking at me and she said, my father always did that. She said he never talked, but that he was, you know, tapping the tips of his fingers together. Do you know what I mean? Like the hands are in a steeple shape, you know, almost like a roof, and the tips of your fingers are together. And that's what her dad always did. So that came out in the mediumship reading as well. Okay, so all these little mannerisms, it's not just what the medium says to you, it's how they're acting, sometimes how they're holding their eyes, their head, their hands, their body language. All this together is mediumship, okay, not just the language. Okay, so knowing all of this, okay, how can you use this information to improve your mediumship? Okay, well, what I'd say to you is be the kind of communicator in life that you want to be in your mediumship. Okay, and what I mean by that is use people's names in conversation. Make it a habit of yours so that it's something that comes naturally to you when you're connecting to spirit. Now, unfortunately for me, you have to know someone's name to use it in conversation. So this doesn't work for me because I don't know people's names and I don't ask because I think it's very rude. But if you know someone's name, use it in the conversation. Make a point to use it because this will improve your mediumship. If you use someone's name, when you're chatting to them, that's something you're going to do in your mediumship and you're more likely to get the name from the spirit. Okay? Another thing you can do is learn to concentrate on the person you are talking to when you're having a conversation. Okay? Don't allow your mind to wander. Don't concentrate on what's going on around you or, what you have to do afterwards. Because letting your mind wander during mediumship, it can cut the connection. Okay? So practice doing this in every conversation. Okay? I'm not saying stare into the person's eyes, but listen to what they're saying. Be aware. It's almost like you're leaning into their energy, and that's a saying that has become a lot more popular, in modern days, lean in to everything. So lean into the conversation, lean into the energy of the person that you're chatting with, okay? Because you'll pick a lot up from them and their body language and their hand gestures, the way they're holding their eyes and how they're looking at you. And, there's a lot more to conversation and to communication than just what, the words that come out of someone's mouth. Okay, you can also use your hands and your body more when chatting to people. Allow yourself to completely relax into the conversation and allow your hands and body to move with the flow of the conversation. So again, leaning in. Okay, I'm not asking you to dance, but don't stand there or sit there holding your hands together with your fingers intertwined so that they can't move. Allow yourself to be demonstrative, okay? You'll find that this will help you so much in your mediumship. You're going with the flow, you're going with whatever energy is overtaking you. In today's world, we are always in a hurry. Everyone, I can't stop and chat now, or I only have 2 minutes, or I won't sit down because I can't stay. Like, we're always saying these things. We rarely allow ourselves to just stop and chat to someone and allow ourselves to be completely immersed in the conversation. But when you're connecting to spirit, whether that's for yourself or for someone else, you'll be getting so into the connection and into the communication, and you have to, otherwise you're not going to get the information that you need, okay? So therefore, if you're so unused to slowing yourself down to connect with people that you're conversing with in life, how will you train your mind and your body to do that for mediumship? It's not going to be possible. And I've spoken before about how the first point of spirit connection is connecting with your own spirit energy and adjusting how you communicate on a daily basis is a huge part of this. Okay, being mindful of yourself, connecting with your ability to communicate. Because, how you communicate in life is how you communicate in spirit. It's just like when I say to you that, if someone was shy in life, they're going to be shy in spirit. We don't change our personalities, okay? So whether you're communicating with someone here on earth or you're communicating with someone in the spirit world, you're not going to vastly change how you communicate. So it's important to adjust how you communicate in life, and that will reflect how you communicate with spirit. Okay? Be the medium that you want to become. None of us will be perfect, but we can work on who we are to be the best that we can be. And by doing this, we can become the medium that we want to meet. Okay, we all have an idea of who, we want to go to help us to connect with our loved ones in spirit. So work on yourself so you actually become that person. And then you will be the person that people want to go to. Okay? So I hope this little chat helps you understand yourself and your communication methods just a little bit more. Okay? It may at least give you something to think about when you're communicating with people. And this will improve your own mediumship in massive ways. Okay, it's not always just about the little things, or I should say it the opposite way around. It's not always about the big things. Sometimes it's about the little things, okay? And that's what you're concentrating on here. It's the little things, the feeling the conversation, the leaning into the conversation, the connecting with the person that you're chatting to, because that's what you're doing with spirit. You're connecting to them. And that's how you're getting your information from them. So practice this in everyday conversations. Okay? So for now, I'm going to say goodbye. Don't forget that this is the last episode in the current series. Okay? I will be back in September of 2024. So make sure that you follow the podcast on whatever platform you listen on. Okay? Then you'll get updates when I'm back in September. You'll get a notification that there's a new episode. Alternatively, you can follow me on Patreon for free, okay? And then you'll get all of my updates, okay? You'll know when something new is happening. Or you can also join my mailing list, okay? The links to all of these are in the show notes attached. Have an amazing summer, guys, okay? I'll chat to you in September. So until then, take care and stay safe.
Discussing everything about the afterlife.